Hello everyone, my name is Sarafi and I'm happy to meet you all. And today we're going to be covering the new Yubel archetype. This deck has sort of already come out and people have been experimenting with it in the OCG, but it still hasn't come out in the TCG quite yet. And I wanted to kind of talk about the new cards and what they could really mean for the meta. So, let's quickly cover the old Yubel cards that you guys know what the deck is kind of referencing, and then let's get straight into the new stuff. I'm excited. First of all, we got Yubel. Level 10, can't special summon itself, so it's pretty terrible. Can't be destroyed by battle, you take no battle damage from battles involving it, and before damage calculation, if it's attacked by an opponent's monster, you burn your opponent for that monster's attack points. Then you also have to tribute another monster you control every turn, or you destroy it. And when it's destroyed except by its own effect, you special summon Terra Incarnate from your hand, deck, or graveyard. Pretty cool. Oh, it's important to note that every Yubel level up misses timing, which is very annoying. So when you summon Terra Incarnate is, of course, level 11. Can't be summoned except by Yubel. This card cannot be destroyed by battle. You take no battle damage from battles involving this card. Before damage calculation, when this card is attacked by an opponent's monster, burn your opponent equal to that monster's attack points, and then during your end phase, it's destroy all other monsters on the field. That is mandatory. If this card leaves the field, you can special summon Yubel, the Ultimate Nightmare, from your hand, deck, or graveyard. So, Terra Incarnate does not need to be destroyed, but it, again, misses timing. Ultimate Nightmare is probably not a card that anyone is going to play. The other two cards might see some play based on some of the, support that we get, but just for completion's sake. Ultimate Nightmare cannot be normal summoned or set, must be special summoned by Terra Incarnate. Cannot be destroyed by battle, you take no battle damage from it. At the end of the damage step, if this face-up attack position card battles an opponent's monster, burn your opponent equal to that monster's attack points, and then destroy it. Okay. Cool. Cool little card, cool little set, but it's got very little support up until now. Now let's talk about what sort of support we're getting. First up, we have the new kind of face of the deck, Spirit of Yubel. Spirit of Yubel, level 10, Dark Fiend, cannot be destroyed by battle, and you take no battle damage from battles involving it. If this card is destroyed, you can special summon one of your Yubels that is banished or in your hand, deck, or graveyard. That's really good. First of all, it doesn't miss timing. Second of all, that's basically anywhere that Yubel could be. In your hand, in your deck, in your graveyard, or that you have banished. And it's a May effect. But still, you want to go ahead and summon your Yubel because it's free advantage. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can special summon this card from your hand. If this card is special summoned, you can add to your hand or set one spell or trap from your deck that mentions Yubel. Sweet. So, if your opponent attacks you, then you can just summon Yubel and then draw a card. That's probably not going to happen unless you happen to draw Spirit of Yubel off of another card effect during your opponent's turn. But, that might happen. So it's cool to have the option. And then, of course, the special summon doesn't just happen, the draw effect doesn't just happen when it's special summoned by its own effect. So when it's special summoned by one of your other cards, you're going to draw or set a spell or trap card, which is pretty nice. Okay. Next up, we have Geist Grinder Golem. Level 8 Dark Fiend monster with 3,000 attack points and 300 defense points. You can only special summon Geist Grinder Golem once per turn. You can reveal one Yubel monster in your hand. Special summon this card from your hand to your opponent's field. Then you can special summon the revealed monster to your field. Okay, so it's a Yubel monster, not Yubel. So yes, you could summon Yubel with this card, but you could also summon Spirit of Yubel. That's really good. So this card is just going to get your Spirit of Yubel out for free. Then you get to draw your Nightmare Throne or your Nightmare Pain, whatever you want to draw. Pretty nice. Once per turn, during damage calculation, if this card battles a Yubel monster, your opponent gains 3,000 life points. Amazing. So let's say that your Yubel, the Ultimate Nightmare, attacks Geist Grinder Golem. Your opponent's going to take 3,000 because of Yubel's effect. And then Geist Grinder Golem is going to give you 3,000. So it's like you are doubling the advantage that you get from attacking this monster. And this monster, of course, doesn't have any special battle effects other than the ones that are beneficial to you. So this is just giving you a free, easy target to trigger all your Yubel cards and your Nightmare Pain and other stuff off of, without having to worry about what monsters your opponent actually has. Pretty powerful effect. Obviously, you could use Kaijus as well, to fulfill the same goal, and you probably will. There probably will be a lot of kaijus in this deck, but Geist Grinder Golem is just another card that gives you more advantage than a kaiju, while not necessarily removing a card from your opponent's field. If you special summon Yubel while this card is in your graveyard, you can special summon this card to your opponent's field. Now this one is specifically Yubel, but Spirit of Yubel summons Yubel, so yes, this is just a great option. So yeah, just play this card to your opponent's field and mess with them. It's great. All right, next up we have Gruesome Grave Squirmer. This card's, I'm not sure about the English name yet. Obviously, this card has not been printed yet, so I've heard Infernal Grave Squirmer. I've heard a few other translations of it. We'll see what it's called when it gets printed finally. Level 1, Dark Fiend. If you control a Fiend monster as a quick effect, you can special summon this card from your hand. Then you can destroy one monster you control that is Yubel or mentions it. Very, very cool. So, it's any Fiend, you can special summon this card from your hand. The second effect is a May effect, which means that you can play this card in any Fiend deck. You don't have to play this with Yubel. You can just, say, okay, well, I need more advantage in my Fiend deck. I could play this in Unchained. I could play this in Twins. I could play this in, what other deck, loves Fiends? There's too many to count. Burning Abyss, if you summon Dante? Dante's a Fiend, right? Yeah, no, there are plenty of options, plenty of decks that would love to have this card. It's just an extra body on the board. You can banish this card from your graveyard, special summon one Fiend monster with 0 attack and defense from your hand or graveyard, except Gruesome Grave Squirmer. So that's Spirit of Yubel, that's Yubel, that's the fusion monsters, that's anything that you want. That's a really, really good card, really, really good effect, and you can play it in Sacred Beasts, which was, another Yubel deck. So really funny that this card supports so many different types of decks, but for Yubel in particular, this is going to be a really good card, and I think that it's an easy 3-of. Then we have Samsara D. Lotus. Level 1, Dark Fiend. You can tribute this card, special summon one Yubel monster from your deck. Great. Okay, so this doesn't special summon itself, but it lets you tribute it to summon your Spirit of Yubel. So easy normal summon into Spirit of Yubel. You don't need your normal summon for anything else, so not bad. During your opponent's turn, when a monster effect is activated while you control a Yubel monster, as a quick effect, you can tribute this card. The activated effect becomes destroy one Yubel monster on the field. That's useful. So you can just be like, oh, that's a nice effect. Destroy my Yubel instead and give me advantage. Pretty good. You do have to go minus to do the effect, but you are negating your opponent's card essentially by changing the effect. Yeah, it's pretty useful. During your end phase, if you control Yubel and this card is in your graveyard, you can add this card to your hand or special summon it. Sweet. So you trigger this effect first, and then you can offer it as a tribute for your level 10 Yubel if you have to, or you can just summon it for your Spirit of Yubel and get a negate, essentially. You can only use each effect once per turn. Great card. Has a lot of synergy with the deck. Will make the deck significantly more consistent. All right, that's the main deck of monsters. Now let's talk about the fusion monsters. So we have Phantom of Yubel. This is a level 9 Fiend fusion monster that requires at least one Yubel monster and one Fiend monster with 0 attack and defense points. Great, so you can make this with Samsara D. Lotus, you can make this with Grave Squirmer, you can make this with 2 Yubels. Pretty easy to summon. Must be special summoned from your extra deck by shuffling the above cards from your hand, field, and graveyard into the deck. That's crazy. So this is a contact fusion that allows you to contact fuse from the hand and from the graveyard. I don't think we've ever had an effect like this. This is so good. It doesn't banish either, so it's not like Vicious Astrolabe. This shuffles them back into the deck so you can keep playing them in the game. So, and you can do this more than once per turn. You can summon Phantom of Yubel as many times as you can pay the cost. And then, of course, Phantom of Yubel, it says it can't be used as fusion material, but you're not fusing it when you summon a Phantom of Yubel. So you can literally just use Phantom of Yubel to make another Phantom of Yubel, because you're not fusing it. Cannot be destroyed by battle. Also, you take no battle damage from battles involving this card. When your opponent activates a monster effect, you contribute this card. That effect becomes your opponent destroys one Yubel in their hand, deck, or field. Okay, so you can tribute this card when your opponent activates a monster effect. The effect is essentially negated, and you get to destroy a Spirit of Yubel from your deck, to summon Yubel, or you can destroy Yubel in your deck and just summon Terror Incarnate. So destroying Yubel in your deck to summon just Terror Incarnate to the field as a free board clear is crazy good. I love this option. You can only use this effect once per turn, so making multiple Phantom of Yubels doesn't necessarily benefit you in terms of the negates, but I mean, getting bodies on the board for link material, shuffling cards into your graveyard from your graveyard into your deck for other benefits, this could be extremely useful to you. I would probably play this card at 2 or 3 because it's just so much advantage to just get free cards from your extra deck by not using any materials on the field. The other fusion monster is probably one of my favorite cards that's ever been printed, I gotta be honest. Like, I really like GX. I really enjoyed Yubel as a character, and this is just so perfect. Level 10, level 12, Yubel the Loving Defender Forever. I think that some versions of translations have called her Yubel the Eternal Guardian, which might be closer to what Konami goes with in the English version, because I mean, she is all about love, absolutely, but I don't think that they really like the connotation of that. So, Yubel, it requires 1 Yubel monster plus 1 or more effect monsters on the field. So you can't use any cards in your hand. If this card is fusion summon, you can inflict 500 damage to your opponent for each material used to fusion summon it. Great. So if you make it with 5 monsters, then your opponent takes 2,500 damage. This is a burn deck. Every bit of damage you can deal counts. You could kill people with this. You can only use this effect once per turn. Cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. You take no battle damage from battles involving this card. At the end of the damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster, inflict damage to your opponent equal to that monster's attack points, and if you do, banish that monster. That's insane. So you get to burn your opponent for that monster's attack points, then you banish it without targeting and without destroying. Sweet. There are very few cards that would be able to escape an effect like this. And Yubel the Loving Defender Forever is obviously the main goal of this card is to get benefit off of Super Polymerization. So you can play Super Polymerization, you can use every effect monster on your opponent's side of the field, plus 1 of your Yubels, and just win the game. If you're worried about your opponent not having any monsters for you to attack into, just summon Geistgrinder Golem. Give them a monster. There you go. It's better than a Kaiju because you don't have to tribute a monster from your opponent's field. You can just use those as fusion material, and then just give them the Geistgrinder Golem, attack into it, they take 3,000, you gain 3,000, it's gone. Easy. The only problem is that it banishes the Geistgrinder Golem, so this card actually has anti-synergy with the deck, because if you banish your Geistgrinder Golem, you can't special summon it, because it only special summons itself from the graveyard. But, I mean, that's a price I'm willing to pay, to be honest. Alright, spells and traps time. I just mentioned Super Polymerization, so now's a good time to talk about Mature Chronicle. Mature Chronicle, continuous spell. Each time a monster is special summoned that is a Yubel monster or mentions Yubel, so that includes Grave Squirmer, that includes Geistgrinder Golem, that includes the Samsara D Lotus, that includes all of your fusion monsters. Place 1 Chronicle counter on this card. So not once per turn, just as many times as you can special summon, you get to place a counter on this card. You can remove counters from the field to activate one of these effects. 1, special summon Yubel from your graveyard. 2, add 1 of your banished cards to your hand. 3, banish 1 card from your deck. 4, destroy 1 card on the field. 5, add Super Polymerization from your deck to your hand. Okay. So this is interesting. I don't know why the 5th effect even exists when you could just remove 5 materials to banish Super Polymerization from your deck and then add it to your hand. But this card is extremely good, especially with Gold Sarcophagus. If you play Gold Sarcophagus, you can banish literally any card from your deck and then just use 2 counters to add that card to your hand. That's insane. Just draw whatever you want. You obviously getting to draw Super Polymerization is really good. Destroying a card without targeting, also pretty decent. Summoning Yubel from your graveyard could be nice. The main problem with this card is that while it is a fantastic card, it will get you a lot of disruption. It is mostly a win more card. You could call this like a 4th, 5th, and 6th copy of Super Polymerization, which is almost accurate. But if you are in a situation where you are getting hand trapped, this card is not nearly as beneficial to you as another card that could actually help you. You do have to be essentially ahead on the board for this card to benefit you in any serious way. And while Super Polymerization is a great way to keep pressure on the board, it's not the only way that you could do so. And you could just draw the Super Poly anyway. So I don't know that people will actually play this card. It does mention Yubel, which kind of can means that it can be searched, so that makes it a little bit more tempting, but I'm not sold entirely on this one. It's definitely an option if you want to play pure Yubel, but I don't think that pure Yubel is the best way to play the deck, so probably doesn't make the cut. Then we have Nightmare Pain, probably the reason to play this deck. Continuous spell, it gets searched by Spirit of Yubel. During your main phase, you can destroy one dark monster in your hand or face upon your field, and if you do, add one Yubel or one card that mentions it from your deck to your hand, except Nightmare Pain. A card that mentions it, not a monster. So that's really, really good. You can use this to draw Mature Chronicle. You can use this to draw your Eternal Favorite. You could use this to draw Neos Wiseman if you wanted to. It's great. You can only use this effect once per turn. Excuse me. While you control a Yubel monster, your opponent's monsters that can attack must attack Yubel monsters. Your opponent takes any battle damage you would have taken from battles involving your Yubel monsters. So this effect essentially doubles the effect of Yubel. Yubel gets to inflict damage to your opponent equal to the attack of a monster that attacks it, and then Nightmare Pain also inflicts damage. So if you attack Geistgrinder Golem with your fusion monster, then you're going to take 6,000 damage. Your opponent's going to take 6,000 damage. You gain 3,000. That's really good. Really useful effect. It makes it much easier to close the game out. Then we have the field spell, Nightmare Throne. And this, just, the art is fantastic. Can I zoom in on this card? Let's see. Hold on a second, guys. Look at this. It is literally just Yubel draped over a throne with her wings out. Looks great. When this card is activated, you can take a Fiend with 0 attack and defense from your deck and either add it to your hand or destroy it. Okay. Calm down. So we can either draw Spirit of Yubel, or we can pop Yubel or Spirit of Yubel and then trigger their effects to either summon Yubel or summon Terror Incarnate. That's really useful. Really, really useful. Once per turn, if a face-up Yubel monster you control leaves the field by a card effect, you can add to your hand one Yubel monster from your deck, graveyard, or banishment, whose original level is 1 higher or lower than one of those monsters. Then you can special summon it, ignoring its summoning conditions. Now this is why Terror Incarnate and Ultimate Nightmare might see some play. So if your Yubel monster, regular Yubel, is removed from the field, like for example, if they're used as fusion material, you could add Terror Incarnate to your hand and then special summon it from your hand, ignoring its summoning conditions. That's so useful. And then, for example, if your Terror Incarnate that you made by destroying Yubel from your deck leaves the field, then you could just summon Ultimate Nightmare. So I don't necessarily think that Ultimate Nightmare still makes the cut. Even as a one-of in a 40-card deck, even if you made it like 45 cards, it's still just such a huge brick. I don't know that it would see any play at all. But the temptation is there. The temptation is genuinely there to play 3 copies of the original Yubel, 1 copy of Terror Incarnate, and 1 copy of Ultimate Nightmare, just to do it, just to pull it off at a tournament, at locals, and just be like, look, I summoned Ultimate Nightmare, I don't care. This effect is great. It's a great search. Every field spell is eroded these days. This is no exception, and the other effects are fantastic. Has great synergy with the deck. Play it at 3. Play Terraforming if Terraforming is unlimited. Lastly, we have Eternal Favorite. Once per turn, you can activate one of these effects, but you can only use one of each effect of Eternal Favorite per turn. Special summon one of your Yubel monsters that is banished in your graveyard. Neither player can activate cards or effects when that monster is special summoned. And if you control Yubel, discard 1 card. Send this face-up card to the graveyard. Fusion summon 1 fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from either field as material, including a Yubel monster. So this is another reason why Mature Chronicle might not see too much play, because you could just search Eternal Favorite, and it does basically the same thing. Eternal Favorite is super polymerization, and that is fantastic. It's super polymerization that you can very easily search. It's a trap card, which makes it a little bit more balanced, and your opponent can respond to it. But it's got a lot of damage, a lot of really good options, and then since you can literally send every monster your opponent controls to the graveyard to use for the Loving Defender Forever, this is just a board clear. It's just Raigeki during your opponent's turn, and that's amazing. So yeah, that's the deck. This deck We'll probably see a lot of benefit from incorporating the Unchained package. Unchained likes to destroy their own cards. Unchained gets benefit from destroying their own cards. They play Fiend Link monsters, which are great. You can use them with the Yubel cards, especially Phantom of Yubel. Make a card like Unchained Soul of Anguish, and then just, absorb your opponent's monsters, get additional link summons, summon Underworld Goddess of the Closed World, which fits so well in this theme and this archetype. You just pop off. I think this deck is actually going to see a lot of play. I think it's very difficult to actually hand trap this deck because a lot of the monsters destroy themselves. And I think that with this deck, you're probably going to have a lot of options to just burn your opponent down when they would otherwise try and negate your cards. And especially since Nightmare Pain is a spell card, and you're not triggering a monster effect, you could potentially sneak some lethals in, especially if you're just attacking into your own Geistbringer Golem. You could just sneak some lethals in over a negate or two because your opponent's just not able to negate a spell card. Yeah, this is great. Definitely think this is going to be a deck moving forward that you all should take a look at. I also don't know, but I don't think this deck is going to be very expensive. So, yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. My name is Sarafi, and I was thrilled to have all of you with me.